when I'm writing books, personally, I don't write books to make money. When I'm writing books, I'm focusing on helping people. Previous 2 weeks, I've met almost 5 clients who are facing similar challenges which I've highlighted in the book. So when I see it like that, I know that that book is going to be a hit, definitely. I tell you, most of the businesses are running, but they don't have a system. That's why you see that if someone dies today, no one will be able to replicate what they've been doing because it's not written. They don't know where to switch off when the building is on fire. They don't know where to switch on when the building is also laking fire.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chartered Vendor Podcast, where we give you business insights, sales, follow-up, and entrepreneurship. And as always, I'm joined by the man, Jerry.
Hi, how are you doing, Gode?
I'm fine. How has been your weekend?
It is okay.
Back in June now.
Yeah.
How has been business so far?
It's okay. We're pushing.
We're pushing. That's very well.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about, we know very well in June, on the 27th, you're going to be launching your 4th book, Why African Businesses Die Young. So today I just want you to give a little bit, don't give too much about the book, but we're going to talk about some of the reasons why entrepreneurs or why businesses are closing in Africa.
Okay, probably I'll start with why I wrote the book.
Yes,
Because if you notice, when I'm writing books, personally, I don't write books to make money.
All right.
When I'm writing books, I'm focusing on helping people. Like even when I wrote The Chartered Vendor, it was an issue of just putting my story into somewhere. Because I was feeling, when I was writing the book, I felt like I'm writing it to my kids, and to show them what I went through, and how difficult the journey was. Yes. So that they can refer somewhere. Even after 100 years, my grandchildren can still refer to somewhere. Then when I wrote Selling Like a Vendor, I was actually writing it to my team at M&J, even Sales Equals to Mjolo. Sales Equals to Mjolo, I was writing it mostly focusing on young people. And I wanted people who didn't like sales to start liking sales, because people, they can relate easily with dating. Then when I'm writing this book, I'm writing it directly to my clients.
All right.
That's why you notice that during the event, I'm actually inviting about 200 CEOs and 200 MDs I have actually worked with. I cannot invite everyone, but I've invited to about 200 people who are going to attend the event, because I'm writing directly to them, because these are the people I was interacting with since I started my consultant's career, and these are the people who are also making the similar mistakes which I'm highlighting in Why African Businesses Die Young. So when I'm writing the book, I don't usually think about it's going to go out of Zimbabwe, Africa, or I'm writing it targeting to make certain amounts of money, but I'm writing it. It's a story which I'm narrating to people. And just previous 2 weeks, I've met almost 5 clients who are facing similar challenges which I've highlighted in the book. So when I see it like that, I know that that book is going to be a hit, definitely.
Bestseller.
Exactly.
Yeah, so interesting. I can't wait to read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we look at some of the problems, let's say the most common problem, if you ask a business why, maybe if you ask an entrepreneur why you're failing, or maybe if you ask someone in the company, they will look at the economy. They first blame the external factors
before they blame
themselves. Yeah. How far true do you think that most of the companies or most of the businesses are failing because of the economy or external factors?
In the book, I'm actually saying as much as the economy plays a pivotal role in us running businesses, but I don't think most of the businesses in Africa are actually dying because of the economy, because they're actually taking advantage of the economy. If you notice right now, it's very difficult for someone to grow a business in South Africa.
Right.
Because why? It's a closed economy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mature economy with big companies.
Yeah, they are big brands.
When you're going to compete, you're competing probably with Mercedes-Benz directly in South Africa. You're going to compete with BMW directly. You're competing with big guns. White guys, people who started businesses in 1900s. But if you look at countries like Zimbabwe and Zambia, these are immature economies, whereby construction sector itself, we used to have Murray and Roberts, which is now Masimba Construction, but it's now small, downsized. It used to occupy the rest of the industry, but right now the industry is now open. That's why you see that chicken Jew can come in and make $1 out of something out of nothing in Zimbabwean or Zambian economies. So if you look at most of the companies which are owning boutiques, clothing shops, people are doing self-fit wear, branding, those industries used to be occupied by big guns. But right now, because big guns are no longer operating in Zimbabwe, that's why we are now operating in those kind of spaces. Even consultants, you look at Ernst & Young, it's no longer the Ernst & Young.
It's no longer that.
Price Waterhouse, it's not longer. People are now looking forward to companies like M&J. So we're getting into these spaces because of the circumstances. Yes. But when you get into those spaces now, we're now blaming politics. We're now blaming economy. But I'm telling you, the reason why most of these businesses are failing is got nothing to do with the economy. I've worked with a number of companies. I tell you, external factors, I can put it to 1%. 99% it's because of the internal issues in the organization. For example, you start your business today, you're actually supplying government. And in business, the rule is don't rely on one person or on one company. Customer. One is a dangerous number. I wrote about that.
Yes.
So when I'm saying one is a dangerous number, I'm also saying even if you've got one customer who is giving you 30% of your revenue, you're in trouble. Because if that person just says, I no longer want to give you business, it's either they're forced to negotiate poor prices, or it's either you're going to be kicked out of business altogether. So if you are dealing with government tenders, then you're blackmailed. What's going to happen? You're done. So most of this business, you start a business, you're doing tenders, but you cannot only depend on tenders forever. Because one day you lose favor. Because these are tenders. You lose favor, you make a mistake, and boom, you're out of business. So I would rather have a business which is depending on 1,000 clients who are giving me $100 each. Because I know if I lose 5, if I lose 10, I've lost only what? 990 of my clients. And I'm going to keep 990 of my clients. I'm going to lose only 10. And still, I can replace this 10 and still have my revenue. But if I'm having all this money depending on one client, it means if that guy says, I no longer want to deal with you, Jerry, I'm out of business.
All right.
So that's another point which is part of the 37 points which I put in that book, Why Business Die Young. When you start with something, don't depend on that thing only. Don't depend on one client. When you see yourself now depending on only one client, chances are you'll be kicked out of business. It may not be now, it may be up to 5 years, it may be 10 years, but I tell you, my brothers, my sisters, when entrepreneurship, yes, it's good, you're making money, you're building businesses, but one day when the government is no longer favoring you, or when there's change of government, change of systems, change of SIs, you're going to get out of business.
All right. But just to take you back, I still believe that, yes, in as much as we don't want to blame the external factors for the closing of all the businesses or for making us go out of business, someone can actually say, since we are in an open economy, like you said, we don't have much big players in Zimbabwe, anyone can just open a boutique. Let's take, for example, we have many boutiques mushrooming. We have many pharmacies right now in Zimbabwe. If I open my pharmacy, there's already competition. So can we say too much competition can also be a reason why my business can close?
No. I don't believe too much in competition, because why? Yes, competition is a factor, but if you look at it, you also established your businesses whilst there are other players in your industry.
True.
So I cannot really say competition is actually the one which is eating me up. I cannot sit in a meeting and say to my team, we are losing because of competition. So what? We need to come up with strategies to beat that competition. Why are they beating us? Are you getting it?
Yes.
So to me, I don't think it's a relevant factor which is actually destroying companies. An open economy, strategize, be different. I also highlighted an issue of saying when you get into a business, you tend to lose, you start focusing on making money without building a brand. I also said, if you've got a brand, if someone internally leaves your business and start another business, they are supposed to. If I've started M&J in 10 years, if someone leaves M&J and start their own company, they are supposed to be where I am after 10 years also, because I'm a trusted brand. But companies forget about building a brand.
All right.
They end up just making money, because there's a difference between making money and building a brand.
Yeah, which is very true.
So a brand will fight for you when competition is now eating you up. Yes, as much as competition is there, that's why you see that brands will still survive. You got big brands like Edgar's, they still survive even if it's difficult. Because why? It's a brand, it's a trusted brand. People always, even if they are can have plenty boutiques, but people always trust Game. People always trust Pep. People always trust Edgar's because they know that those brands have been existing for years.
The chartered vendor. Chartered, it simply means the experience which I got from the workplace and through formal education. Vendor, it simply means that I was once a vendor selling sweets, selling bananas on the streets. Combined, it makes the chartered vendor. Many people complain, they think that you need monetary capital to start a business. Contrary to that, I only started my business with only a laptop. If you want to know more about my story, grab your copy today.
All right. Interesting. Now let's bring it a little bit closer to the business now, since we have established that most of our external reasons, they might be mere excuses of not being able to run business. Now let's look at the internal reasons. We look at recruitment. You get to a company, there's always that one surname, mainly probably the bosses or the
Which is
HR
dominant.
which is dominant. How does that kill a business?
Yeah, it's two-way. You look at it right now. I know of a successful company which has got a lot of one surname which is dominant, but the owner doesn't tolerate nonsense. You get in. Yes, what has brought you in is because of our relationship, but what will keep you are results.
All right.
Yeah. And he actually that guy has fired 3 of his siblings.
Wow.
But they are still relatives who are in that business. But he doesn't tolerate nonsense just because you are a relative. But if you look at it right now, most of the businesses, when they've got relatives, they are treated in a different way than the people who are not relatives. Yes. Strangers are treated. They're treated in a heavy manner. They're given that they're ill-treated sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you notice what applies on a stranger doesn't apply on a relative. Yes. If a relative is late, it's okay. But if a stranger is late, they're punished. So that's what is killing these businesses. Because people are thinking through their emotions. They're using emotions rather than logic. They're using their heart to think instead of using mind. They should use their brains. So that's what is killing most of these businesses as well. All right. As much as, yes, bringing relatives is not a crime. Bring them. But if you know that I've always said you cannot bring someone in your company who cannot fire.
You cannot fire.
If it's your wife, know that when push comes to shove, you're supposed to be able to fire them.
All right. Yeah, definitely. You can't hire someone you can't fire.
Exactly. Obviously. So these are some of the things which are saying your company, if it's your sekuru, it's your tezara, who is part of your company, how are you going to punish them? It's your in-law. How are you going to punish them? It will also affect even your relationship itself. Yes. But here you are, you've employed your in-law. Are you going to be blunt with your in-law to say, Tezara, you're messing up?
No.
So, it's as much as you want to help, know your limits.
So how can I then maneuver that situation? I have my in-law right now. I have a big business.
Start a business for them somewhere, then they will run somewhere. Give them capital, 5,000, 10,000. They start something somewhere out there. You're okay. You lose. It's better for you to lose 10,000 right now, but not to lose millions, which are supposed to come in your business because of relationships.
Yes, that is very true. Then if you look at that recruitment, whereby you end up recruiting relatives, it's actually a sign that there are no standard operating procedures in the business, which is also something that can lead to the failure of the business if you don't have SOPs in the company.
Yes, but get me correct. There's nothing wrong with hiring relatives. I'm telling you, because sometimes we build this business for Africans.
Yes.
You're the first one to get into Harare, you're the first one to get into Lusaka, you're the first one to get into Lagos. You need to bring your relatives, you need to upgrade them. Probably they cannot even be employed anyway. You know their weaknesses.
Yes.
But you can only groom them in your company. There's no crime. There are businesses which are working with relatives doing very well. But the owners know how to manage the politics now. Like what you are saying, the SOPs. Because someone, if you get in, you sign a contract. What is in the contract is what is going to dismiss you.
Definitely.
But when we now shove other things which are in the policies, because it's a mining,
There comes the
because it's your wife, because it's your husband, that's where business is dying.
All right. Yeah, I still remember one of your seminars. You mentioned that you once get an advice that when you're starting business, delay gratification. In this day and age, it's becoming difficult. We are living in a fast-paced world whereby everyone wants to be flashy. I want to drive the latest car. I want to be seen wearing the latest clothes. And at sometimes you end up seeing that someone is taking from the company's account, and then I use it as my own. And then at the end, the business fails.
I think I got that from my mentor, Mr. Mataranyika. Yeah. And Mr. Mataranyika, Mr. Philip Mataranyika, shout out to him, is the founder of a company called Nyaradzo Group of Companies.
Yes.
When I got it, when he said it to me, I started applying that. To the extent that even right now, over the years, my salary has been increasing, obviously. As you're building a business, it's growing, you're increasing a lot of income generating services, and you're getting a little bit of some money. I think I'm still spending, my spending pattern is still similar to that of 2022. But it's now 2025. It's 3 years after. So even if I earn more, I still spend the amount I was earning in 2022. How has it managed to help me? Right now, even if I lose that income and it drops to where it was in 2022, I still adjust, because there's nothing which has changed. I'm still getting the amount of fuel, the same amount of fuel. I'm still buying from the same shop.
Yes.
I'm still eating the same food. I'm still living in the same house. But I got it from the master himself.
Yeah.
So it has helped me to start investing, because whatever I'm now getting is extras. I can invest it in other projects or back into the business. But you look at young people nowadays, get their first 10,000, they buy Mercedes Benz.
Without fuel, money for fuel.
And for repairs.
Yeah, definitely. And also, maybe if we can also touch on another issue, we've seen that there are many companies. We want to compete on a global stage. We want to compete with a lot of people. So if I open I will use an example for boutique again. I have my boutique in town, Harare. And then I also have another one maybe in Blawayo. I then open another one in Kwekwe. But then I get to find out that the first one, which I opened in Harare, maybe it's not that profitable, but I'm still taking money from those that are profitable and opening other boutiques. How does that opening more branches, is it growth, or you can actually lead your business nowhere?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with opening branches, but the timing. Because when you're opening a branch, there are a lot of factors which you must consider.
Okay.
It's not only about the market, but it's also about the human resources. Do you have people who can deploy that office and still perform like the first branch which had opened?
Okay.
Do you also have a reliable system which you can replicate and it can actually work in any environment? So before you think of opening a branch, you must have all the factors aligned. What strategy are you going to use? These you can be successful in Harare, but Bulawayo is a different market.
Yes.
So what worked in Harare might not work in what? In Lusaka.
All right.
So there's nothing wrong, but I noticed that most of the companies are making those big mistakes. They make it in Harare, they get into Lusaka, boom, they are hit. business is destroyed because they haven't set systems. The business is still relying on that person alone. And when it's no longer there, the business dies. With one particular incident whereby one of my clients got into Lusaka, opened a shop, a retail shop, and the kids who were running that shop would take pictures in the morning and pretend as if they're working, and they'll take pictures in the evening. And one particular day, the landlord said, "Are you still running your shop?" Asking the tenant. Then she said, "Yes, my people are coming every day." But he said, "For the past week, your shop was closed."
There was no one.
But what was being said by these kids, they would say, "There's no business. Where we are selling, it's wrong." They'll blame external factors. Change your shop. No one is coming. The items which you have, people don't love them.
All right.
So you've opened the shop, but you don't have the human resources. You don't also have the system which will monitor the performance of the guys who are on ground.
On the ground, definitely. Now, when you're talking about systems, I understand that the way business was back in the 90s and maybe early 2000s, it's now different from how it is right now. What some of the systems can a business implement for it to remain sustainable?
Yeah, when you're simply saying a system, Gordon, it's not about a software, like what mistake most of the people make. A system, it's a way we are doing things. For example, if a podcast is supposed to air every day on Monday, it's supposed to be there on Monday.
Yes.
Because people will be now anticipating. We'll create a system in them. Back in their mind, there's someone actually we have influenced to the extent that every Monday they're expecting to get our podcast airing. So if we don't air it, we've destroyed the system.
All right.
If we post every day at 8, 12, 2 o'clock, we've created a system, which most of the people, they're going to rely on our page. The moment when you don't post, we've killed the
problem.
The system.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm simply saying is systems, it's a software, it's also part of a system. Putting cameras, it's also part of a system. So it's a system which you're putting. How do you recruit? How do people wear? What do you do at your organization? Do you value time? What are your values? What are your principles? Etc. That's what makes a system. So some people, they just see an opportunity, but they don't have a system. I tell you, most of the businesses are running, but they don't have a system. That's why you see that if someone dies today, no one will be able to replicate what they've been doing because it's not written.
All right.
They don't know where to switch off when the building is on fire. They don't know where to switch on when the building is also lacking fire. So that's what we are saying. We need to put systems as organization. We need to know. People need to know. We need to write things down. People need to know why they are doing particular certain things in an organization.
Wow, insightful. I really can't wait for the book launch.
Okay.
It says 31 mistakes that bury African businesses
37 mistakes.
37 mistakes. Wow.
That
definitely.
bury businesses alive.
Yeah. Can't wait. Make sure that you book your book on the 27th of June. Let's support the new book. And it will be available on the market as well, right?
Yeah, it will be available on Amazon. It will be available on I think this one we wanted to launch it. We also want to do the audio before the book launch, before the 27. We also have the audio version of the book, and that's what we need to do.
Wow, that just leaves me to say thank you very much, Jerry,
for
being with me today. Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the podcast. And also remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And see you on the next time. Bye.